Welcome to our holiday edition of Witch Hat Chats. Come on in and sit for a spell. We're sponsored by Evermoving We Rise, Moonlight Potions and Charms, and Saul Ravencraft, Wizard for Hire. I am your goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and our co-host, Saul Ravencraft, is around here somewhere. Come on out, Saul. Where are you at?
Here I am, Nikki. How are you doing today?
I am great.
Well, glad to
And
hear
you
it.
dressed up as Santa Claus.
I've been doing a lot of that here in December. It's one of the fun things I get to do.
I bet. And getting to be with all those kids too.
Well, it is, yeah. My first Santa was on the 2nd, and that was for a private holiday party. To give you an idea of the kind of holiday party, it was in a private neighborhood, and they had valet parking. So that was one of those kinds of gatherings, and people doing their holiday spirit in their own way. Kind of a different stratosphere, but that was fun. And then in contrast, a day or so later, I was at Sam's Club in San Antonio, where I saw hundreds of people during the day from just all kinds of demographics, and all enjoying the idea of Christmas and Santa and the festivals of light. I mean, that's what we're talking about. These are all festivals of light, and they're all about the same idea: renewal and moving forward, and the sun returning, and all of that kind of stuff. They just look at it through different lenses.
Yep. 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 So happy holidays to everyone out there, because we have at least 14 different holidays between November and January.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So where did they park their sleigh at? I'm curious.
Um, I don't know exactly where it was. They said it was going to be parked far away, but it was kind of fun because when it was time for me to leave the party, they saw me coming. They knew it was Santa's car, so there was no trouble with that. They just automatically brought it up. I didn't really even have to wait, so that was fun. And strangely enough, I also have several events during this month where I'm doing readings for events. You wouldn't think that people would be looking at that as part of a holiday party, but a lot of people do enjoy that. And it gives, especially for situations where you're bringing people together that don't necessarily work together directly, but they're all part of the same company. It gives them something to talk about. Where it kind of breaks the ice there.
Yeah, readings do that, don't they?
Yeah.
You
Well,
gotta get your spooky.
should I check the door?
Yeah, I think there's somebody at the door.
I do think there's someone at the door.
Keeps moving, doesn't it?
Well, looky here. It's the author of The Evil Eye, The History, Mystery, and Magic of the Quiet Curse, Antonio Pagliarulo. Good to have you here. How are you today, Antonio?
Hello, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing well from chilly New York City.
Did people just murder your name?
Yeah, that I got used to that pretty early in life. I was born here in New York City, but my parents are from Italy. So in our home we spoke Italian, and that was easy, to say my name. But elsewhere, yeah, it was just always chopped up. Still is.
Well, and I feel like I even did a kind of an Americanized version of that. That's not the true pronunciation of your name, is it?
Well, the true pronunciation, the G really is silent, so
Uh-huh.
you pronounce it Pagliarulo, but
Ah.
here in the States, it's always pronounced Pagliarulo. And either, it's fine. I answer to both names, and I like them both.
Did you hear that little roll of the R that he did? That's so
Did
sexy. I love
I?
that.
Thank you. I didn't know if I was looking at my arm. Thank you. I'm glad I did. I don't hear it anymore.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, welcome. Now you have come to us all the way from New York. Is that New
From
York City?
It's Manhattan. Yep, and you'll probably hear sirens.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's one now.
there's one now. Yeah. So yeah, right in the heart of Manhattan is where I live. I've lived most of my adult life actually here in Manhattan.
Well, that's okay. It's all right to keep it lively.
That it is, the concrete jungle. That it is.
So, do you gentlemen want to hear the divination for today?
Oh yeah.
All right. So, our tea divination for today, and today's tea is ginger tea with lemon. And our divination today comes from Sylvia Path, who wrote the book called The Bell Jar. And I quote, I shut my eyes and all the world drops dead. I lift my eyes and all is born again. So, gentlemen, what does that mean?
I,
Well, go ahead, Antonio.
my immediate thought is that it gives you the power, gives you the power in a moment to sort of change your thinking or change your perception or change the way you look at things. If you take a moment and ground yourself and shut your eyes, that moment maybe that you weren't in sync with or that you didn't like, as she said, is dead. And then when you open your eyes, things become different. You can see things different. It's alive again. So that's what I took from that.
Yeah, no, I like that perspective. Uh, I guess the slight difference that I have on that is that's a two-edged thing that you can shield yourself from what is distracting or oppressing or keeping you from having the vibration that you want by simply closing your eyes and sending it away, so to speak. But also that if we close our eyes, that we're missing what's in front of us. And I know that a lot of people will look at things through their own bubble, through their own lens, and they won't pay attention to what is happening, what they're being shown. They don't necessarily listen to what's happening. They're not mindful of what's in front of them, and you can miss stuff that you need to see if you turn inward all the time. So it's an incredible power to be able to control that lens, but you have to experience both the outward and the inward.
Yes, the inward. Yeah, you really hit that on the head. Definitely. Definitely.
It's actually a combination of both of what you both said. Because the thing about it is when you shut your eyes and the world drops dead, you're actually kind of taking a step back and just meditating in a way. And you're restarting your mind, you're restarting your day, and you're restarting your point of view. Because aren't we all doing that? Each and every morning when we go to sleep, we don't think of anything, or at least we're trying not to think of anything when we go to sleep. And when we wake up, hopefully we had a good night's sleep and we're refreshed. So it's a new day. And whatever we do, we can make that new day whatever we want. That's what magic's all about, right? It's taking something that we want to do and manifest it into something that we want.
Very much so. Very much so. A lot of power in that.
That was deep.
Yeah.
We get there sometimes.
It is what magic is about, yeah.
So, Antonio, I'm guessing that your book raises a few eyebrows.
It depends. It's raised a few eyebrows. People have, in general, people have responded really positively to it. I'm very overwhelmed by the response. I'm still overwhelmed by, emails and people who reach out through my website or through social media. It's been a really, really wonderful experience. But yes, some people, it's been raised eyebrows. Some people have said, I wasn't familiar really that much with the evil eye, or I've heard of it sort of, in the periphery, and yet now, you gave it this sort of definition in a way. You sort of defined it more clearly. And then other people have said, I'd never heard of it. And then some people have looked at certain chapters of the book and had more questions about it. So it's definitely brought up questions, yeah, and raised eyebrows, sure.
There are a lot of people in the magical community that are squeamish about the idea of cursing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation I have a lot with people because they've gotten this idea that any time that you get involved in that side of magic, that you're eating away at your soul. And the way I look at it is there are some times when you have to step in front and you have to be willing to draw your sword. And if you see someone there that's helpless, what are you going to do? Step aside and go, oh, not in the face, not in the face. No, you gotta do something. And is it safe to draw your sword? Well, of course it isn't. but who else is going to do it? And so that's the way I came to terms with the concept of cursing. Is it's just like any form of aggression. Sometimes you have to turn it onto something that's the big bad. And if you don't, then you have to stand by and watch someone else be hurt. But that helped turn it all for me. Sometimes you just got to step in front.
Well, the thing about it is a lot of people think that magic should be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows coming out of unicorns' asses. Okay? It's not. It's not. It really isn't. And then they go with this Wiccan Reed shit. And I'm sorry. No. Okay? It's like you're standing there, and if somebody's going to hit you, what are you going to do? You going to stand there and let them hit you? I wouldn't. Are you going to duck? Or are you going to defend yourself? Right. There's your question. If somebody's got a gun and they're going to shoot you, what are you going to do? Are you going to stand there and get shot? Really? And then they're going to shoot you again? Are you going to stand there and let them shoot you again? Are you going to stand there and let them hit you again? Really? Come on.
It's about consequences. If it's worth the price, you pay it.
Also the reaction, our natural reaction, as you said, when someone's coming at you, in an attack mode, if someone's just charging at you, your physical reaction is to, defend yourself. Mm-hmm. And that aspect, of course, has been brought up because I have a whole chapter on that in the book. I think it's the last chapter. And the idea of cursing, many people do think it's gotten this idea that, oh, you're look, first of all, anyone who wants to, if you want to go on a safe and straight sort of easy path, magical path is not that.
Right.
It's not going to do that for you. But I always think of the idea, if someone comes in and is going to sort of drop this bomb into your life, or send you negativity, or send you a curse or anything like that, what does it ultimately do? It creates imbalance and disharmony in your life. And I think when you react, when you respond, when you defend yourself, when you put up your shields, when you send it back, whichever way you want to handle it, in my mind, it's not so much, casting a curse, sending this. In my mind, the ultimate reaction, the ultimate result is that you are restoring balance to your own life, or to the lives of your loved ones, or to the lives of the people who might have been victimized by something. So that's really energetically for me what I've always thought of it as. You're restoring that balance. And you sometimes you do have to draw your sword. And we draw our swords in so many areas of life. We defend ourselves in so many ways every single day, and we just don't think about it. But you are defending yourself. Listen, that's just the way it is. This is part of the human condition. We do have to defend ourselves in many ways. And it's really no different when you're speaking to the magical practitioner, or you're talking about magic. It's necessary sometimes to defend yourself.
So, for our audience that doesn't understand about the evil eye, because I do, can you explain to them exactly how does it work?
Sure. So the evil eye, it's a very, very old concept. It goes back thousands of years. The evil eye is negative energy, it's painful energy, and it is cast through a glance, a look, and it's defined basically in three ways. First, it can be fully intentional. Someone can come up to you or just look at you from across the room. They give you that dirty look. They stare you down. They let you know, I don't like you, or I'm unhappy. Now, I should say, before I give you the three ways, the energy of the evil eye is born from emotion. It's born from envy, resentment, greed, jealousy. This is really what the evil eye is about. So the first, someone's looking at you, and they're letting you know they don't think you should be living your best life. They don't like that you got that new job. They don't like that you're in that good relationship. They don't like that it appears there's more money in your bank account than theirs. And they let you know. That's envy. And that's the evil eye being cursed, being sent intentionally. The second way is unintentionally. And this is where you get into the little, as I call them, the little rituals that happen after. I grew up with the evil eye, just from day one. So I was taught, whenever you give a compliment, you either had to do a hand gesture. Italian, and it's very common in Italy, in Italian families, you do these, hand gestures, the horns, or you say, oh, the house is beautiful, God bless you. The baby's beautiful, God bless it. God bless him, God bless her. God, the car is great, God bless. You always followed a compliment with either a gesture or some sort of a God bless you, or knock on wood, or something like that. In Italy, a lot of times when I was a kid, we'd spend time in Italy and people would compliment you. You'd turn around and spit, because that was a way of negating or just sort of sending away an unintentional evil eye. Because sometimes you really might not have any envy or resentment for a person or a situation that is conscious, that is right up here, that you're really aware of, but maybe deep down you do have a little bit of that. And so it's an unintentional casting, and that's when somebody says, God bless. The third way you could bring the evil eye upon you is through boasting. You bring it upon yourself. This goes huge issue, because especially now in the days of social media and Instagram and growing up, I was taught you want to talk about something and say, you got that good grade, or you got the new toy, you did it very lightly. You didn't draw a lot of attention to yourself. And that was because if you drew too much attention to yourself, you would sort of poke the eye. You would tempt fate. Someone was going to say, oh, look at him, flashing around in that, car, this, that, always talking. That's basically how you bring it upon yourself in the third way. You just keep boasting. Instead of posting those 50 pictures, maybe you just need to post 2 on Instagram. Yeah, stop talking about that vacation that hasn't happened yet. This is the way you have to be mindful of that.
And before we continue, let's take a quick break and listen to our amazing sponsors, and we will be right back. Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do? Wednesday, I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading. And it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful. And he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family. And I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that. What particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors, they were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful reading for him, and I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about. It's to help you to do that. Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune.
Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward.
We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box.
Welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I am Saul Ravencraft. I'm here with Miss Nikki Kirby and Antonio Pagliarulo. So glad to be here. So, we've talked about the nature of the evil eye. Is there kind of a gradation here? Is there sort of the mildly irritated eye that we start with and work our way up? Or tell us more about the variety of what's going on here.
So the variety, it's, as I said earlier, it's a very, very old concept. It's so ubiquitous. So many cultures, so many religions. But the same thing is, I always tell people that the book I've written is a friendly reminder about a very unfriendly topic. A lot of people don't like to discuss jealousy, and they don't like to discuss envy. And it's funny, the evil eye is born, it's considered or thought of as a supernatural concept, right? Because it's this energy that's being emitted from the eyes or from a glance, and it's negative energy, and it's going to have its effect, its impact on someone's life. So that's a supernatural concept, and yet it is born from a very natural source, our emotions. So everyone has experienced jealousy. Okay, you've either experienced jealousy, whether or not you want to admit it, you've been jealous of someone or something, you've been envious, you've been resentful, you've been angry, or you've been on, you've probably been on the receiving end of someone else's negativity, someone else's anger, someone else's resentment, and you know what it's like. You understand the sting of that energy. So I think that's why it sort of transcends just the idea of magical practice, because so many cultures, it's remained alive out of so many superstitions over thousands of years. The evil eye has never gone anywhere. It's always been around. It's not going anywhere. It's ingrained in so many cultures and in so many people and in so many ways. And it can manifest also, in so many ways. Growing up, as I told you, in a very, very Italian household, if you got sick, that was, maybe you did have a flu, or maybe you did have a cough, or maybe you were having allergies. But if that wasn't the case, it was immediately sort of, this is the evil eye at work. And then, certain rituals were done to diagnose it, detect it, and then to remove it. But it wasn't only health or physical things. Your car breaking down, the burst pipe in the basement, you've fallen 4 times this week, you lost your keys, you got into a fight with 4 people you don't usually fight with. These are all things, these are all signs and symptoms in life that happen. And yeah, listen, everybody experiences bad luck, what we call bad luck, now and then. But a series of unfortunate events, if all of those things have happened to you in the course of a week or two, that's kind of suspicious, that's kind of strange. And that's when you start looking around and thinking about the evil eye. And I've interviewed countless people who have told me, who opened up about their stories and who said, this is what happened to me. And, you think about it, and you start to, if you allow yourself to think about it, you can understand that the emotions have power. Our emotions have tremendous power.
Now, some of what you talked about earlier on, the ideas of dealing with anger and envy and all of that sort of thing, sounds a lot more like shadow work, really.
I think it becomes shadow work if you're willing to do the work. But many people, you experience anger and jealousy, and it's not something that people want to acknowledge in themselves. Not everyone wants to go that way and say, why does this make me so angry? Why does this person's success or this person's happiness, why does that rub me the wrong way? Why does it make me envious? That's a point of shadow work of getting into, but you have to be willing to take those steps.
Right.
Right. Is it now, do the different colors mean different things?
Different colors, you mean the beads?
Yeah, like I have seen different I have seen them in different colors. Like some
Yeah.
have been in red, and then there's blue, and then I've even seen pink and all kinds of different colors.
There are, and I give a rundown of some bead colors in the book. Sometimes for virility, red; for love life, pink; for finances or luck, it could be green. But I give a pretty thorough rundown in the book of what the beads mean. And even though the bead itself is its own amulet, but yes, they more and more they've had different colors to represent really specific things, because the evil eye can attack someone in any area. It's not only just this general thing of, oh, I have a headache or the car broke down. It can go right toward your financial life if someone's really envious of all the money you're making, or those investments are working out well. The evil eye can manifest there. Someone's talking about that house that you live in, and it can manifest there. So there are different colors, and as we know, as any practitioner will tell you, that different colors have different powers.
Mm-hmm. And can the evil eye actually be a protection?
So the interesting thing, a lot of people will say, like what you're wearing on your wrist, okay? A lot of people will say, oh, I'm putting on my evil eye jewelry. But in fact, you're actually not putting on your evil eye jewelry, you're putting on an azar. If it's the circle, the blue, the white, the blue, the black dot, that it looks like an eye. That's the most common symbol that people will find or see or wear. And that is called an azar. And I make a point of telling people that are writing about it, I don't like to say I'm putting on my evil eye jewelry, because I don't want to put on the evil eye. I want it away from me. But it's become just a part of speech. People will call that the evil eye. In fact, that amulet is called the Nazar, just the same as the hand amulet is called the Hamsa. So when you're putting it on for protection, what you're wearing, the amulet that you're wearing or hanging, most often is the Nazar.
So when we talk about the evil eye, it seems that a lot of your book is about helping people to understand the nature of the evil eye, that it's not just a superstition, that there is some resonance that goes on with this, and then getting into the idea of how to protect yourself, how to restore balance. Is there an area where you get into the idea of, if you got to use the evil eye, here's what you do? Or is that not something that you prefer to share? Or is it something people do without needing to know?
I think some people do it without knowing they're doing it, but I do have a chapter in the book, yes, about how to cast the evil eye. And the steps you take to, number one, to ground yourself appropriately, but then to go ahead and do that. And there are examples of it. I think, we spoke about that a little briefly earlier, but there are situations where I believe it's necessary. If you feel unsafe, if someone really is targeting you, you could learn to use it as defensive magic. And as we know, that's, magic itself, like a lot of, we hear as magical practitioners, well, someone can heal, but then they can hex. It's the other side of the spectrum. The energy is energy. It depends on how you use it. Energy, never dies. It just changes form. So if in fact you want to wear an amulet or do a specific ritual or prayer to dispel the evil eye, to send it away, your intention is what matters. You're using your energy to send it away, to deflect it, to make sure it's gone from your life. Or your intention is to take that same energy because it's just the same energy, but you're using it in a different way. And in that case, you can cast the eye. Yes.
What led you to want to cover this topic? Was there a personal experience or something that made you realize that the world needs to know more about this?
So it goes back to childhood. I grew up in the Bronx in a very typical sort of two-family house. We lived upstairs. My grandparents lived downstairs, and they were immigrants from Italy. My parents are immigrants from Italy, and we grew up with the evil eye everywhere. My grandmother knew how to, detect the evil eye, and you would walk into her house, her apartment downstairs, and there were bowls of water everywhere, usually. And she, the olive oil, and watching her, people would call her. People would come to the door from everywhere in the neighborhood. They would call her from different parts and say, this is what's happening. Can you see if malocchio, which is the evil eye, is present? So I grew up with it, and it was just a very natural part of my life. I didn't know it was so common in other cultures and places until I got to high school, because I went to a very, very small private Catholic school. And, not many, we wore I wore the cordino, the horn. Many people have seen it. I mentioned the amulets in the book as well. I wore that. That's a very much in Italian folk magic. It's one of the popular amulets, or the mano cornuta, which is the horns there. And other Italian kids wore the same thing, but I thought it was just something that was, in my own sort of little world. Then I went to high school, and I went to a very large public high school here in Manhattan. And that's when I started to have friends who were not anything like me. They were different religions and cultures. And, one day somebody mentioned something about what basically was the evil eye. He said something to sort of ward it away. And I was like, what is that for? And he said, oh, well, that's so, someone's jealousy or envy doesn't, give me bad grades or make my project sink. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, you know what that's about? And it was this awakening sort of thing, that this concept was so alive and so well, and in every part of the world. And then, of course, for years, I've always been a writer. I've always been a researcher. And it's just, I always say that it sort of was the foundation for my life as a magical practitioner, because I was so familiar with it early on. And then learning how, to detect it, learning the rituals, learning the prayers, learning the incantations and these things. It's always been a very, very powerful part of my life. And I was very surprised, there really aren't many books about the evil eye out there. Many have been, there are many academic papers, there are studies done on it, but a book that deals with the magic of it is really had not been done recently, at least. So I thought, you know what? I think it's a good idea. I think more and more people need to know about it. And being someone who had always been sort of open about it, it was so common throughout the years. It still is very common for people to call me, text me to say, this is going on. Do I have it? Do I have it? This is what's going on. And, doing readings and things like that, I've always loved it. And you could see the effect. I've seen what happens, not only in my own life, I've seen it personally in my own life, taking it off. I've seen it in other people's lives. So I really wanted to just write a book that looked at it from this sort of global perspective, and also included the spells and rituals and the prayers and sort of the magical aspect, the helping aspect of it.
So, okay, my question is when when somebody casts the evil eye at somebody and they're wearing one of the amulets, from what I understand, that amulet can only take the evil eye once and it's done. Is that right?
No, that has not been my experience. An amulet, once you take an amulet, and it can be any amulet of your choosing, whether it's an azar, a hamsa, whether it's a saint medal, whichever amulet, you form a relationship with that amulet energetically. And just like when people wear the same jewelry every day, you form a relationship with it. An amulet is working for you until it takes a hit. And a lot of people have said to me over the years, oh, something bad must have happened because my amulet broke. Today, my hamsa cracked in half, or I dropped it and it shattered on the floor, or it was on the wall and it came crashing down, or I noticed a crack in it. That's actually a positive thing. That means that your amulet has taken the hit. And it actually, sort of absorbed the negativity of the evil eye, and that's why there's a crack in it. But if the amulet can work for quite a while, doesn't mean that if you have an amulet that's been on you for, a year or two and it's never cracked or anything like that, it doesn't mean that it isn't working, but it can very well deflect the eye. And this is where you get into different aspects of ritual or spells or prayers for the amulets themselves. But certainly you can wear an amulet for as long as it stays on you without breaking.
Okay. So what are some, ridiculous things that you've heard that the evil eye can do?
Oh, what are some ridiculous things? Well, I give a very long list of symptoms and signs in the book. And for me, it can manifest in so many different ways in people's lives. It can manifest physically. It can manifest, like I said before, financially. You can have things break. I think silly things. I think that only happens. I've known people, I should say, who've been a little bit, whenever you get into any aspect of, whatever it is, whether it's magic, spirituality, when something becomes, you can't become fanatical about things. And that goes back to the whole aspect when I tell people not to boast too much. There's a very fine line there. You still want to celebrate your achievements. You want to celebrate the achievements of your loved ones. You want to be able to say, hey, look at what I achieved. Look at what my kid achieved. Look at what happened here. But you don't need to sort of do it 24 hours a day and with 50 pictures or 50, announcements of it. So you still want to live. You just want to live mindfully, and you want to do it with sort of a sense of, you want to do it calmly, but with a sense of awareness. You have to be aware of the evil eye at all times. But I think I had heard silly things. People have come to me over the years. It's mainly when I think people become too afraid of the idea that the evil eye is going to get them. And that's when a book like this, that's when rituals, that's when prayers, that's when these spells, and that's when the magic becomes very, very important, because it teaches you that you can learn how to deflect it. You can learn to say, oh, you know what? I sort of felt your intuition gets stronger, your instinct gets stronger. I think the silly things I've heard, once I remember someone said she thought she had it because, her cooking, she couldn't, something that she had always cooked a lot was just, it kept sort of coming out wrong and it wasn't working, and someone had done that. And I said, no, I don't think that's the case. And it actually ended up not being the case. But people will get into all manner of things if they become too trapped in this idea that it's going to get them. And you don't get trapped in that idea once you learn about it, once you become aware of it. And then once you understand that you can take control of certain things. We're not in control of many things in our lives, but you can take control of protecting yourself spiritually and energetically.
Well, thank you for that. And so where can our people be able to contact you?
you can contact me on my website. It's my very simple name, antoniopagliarulo.com. It's also italianwitch.com. You can reach me through either way, but I'm also on Instagram, on Facebook, and I do respond to emails and messages. Just give me a bit. The response has been really wonderful and overwhelming, and I thank everyone who reaches out to me, but I do get to the emails. I absolutely do.
Well, thank you so much, Antonio, for being on the show. And we do appreciate that.
It was my
Let us know.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. So that's all for our show today. So embrace your power, support your community, and keep your fuzzy babies, your family, friends, and yourself safe. And have an absolute magical week. And happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki, Kirby with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Live and soul with a beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk.